Professionally, I've been in the music business for, wow, let's see. I think I made my first record in 1969. So if we do the math real quick, 79, 89, 99, 2009, that's 42 years. You're right, I've been a professional musician. Now that's different from making money in the music business. So you can be a professional musician and not make any money. So I think I've been making money in the music business since 1973, maybe actually 72, maybe like November or December of 72. I think I may have gotten my first check, and I bought a house with the first check. Yeah. So, well, I've had a lot of great days in the music business. Where things that I would say were right up there. Maybe getting a phone call one day that Aretha Franklin wanted me to come and play at a private party for her, and then I was at the hotel, and then the phone rings, and it's Aretha. I said, "Hi, Lenny," and I'm like, "Hi," and she said, "This is Aretha," and I'm like, I almost died. It's like I couldn't even think of what to say. So that was a great moment. But I think that hearing my record on the radio for the first time was a great moment. There's so many great moments of getting a chance to meet Mick Jagger or Elton John or different people like that. But I would probably say the greatest moment that I can think of, and I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying because it deals with money, but I have a grandson. Sometimes I talk to him about money, and I said it's interesting, or it's kind of sad that if you want tutoring, you have to have money. If you want to go to a great school, you have to have money. If you need medicine, you have to have money. So money is an essential in the society that we live in. And I did a record in 1970. I wrote it in 1974, and it came out in 1979. Well, actually, it came out in 1975, and then we re-recorded it and changed it up in 1979. And then in 1984, Kanye West and the rapper Twista sampled it, and it went to #1 on the rap charts. And then one day I went to the mailbox and I had 2 checks for $94,000 a piece. And I was like, oh my God, I had 3 daughters in college, and so it's like, I'm gonna be able to pay these girls college tuition. I'm going to be able to reward my wife, pay the house off. I'm going to be able to put some money away, and that was just those 2 checks, and then there was just checks of $40,000 and $50,000 that came after that. And so I would say that day that I got 2 checks for $94,000, it was kind of a culmination of work, to see. It's like you plant a seed, and then 10 or 15 years later, you see this giant tree, and you say, oh my goodness, that's from that little seed that I just kind of threw in the ground, 15 years ago. And so, like I said, I'd written this song in 1974, and then in 2004, 20 years later, actually a little bit longer than that, 30 years later, here it goes, and this song is #1, Kanye West at that time, was probably considered one of the premier producers and everything. So that was a great moment in my music career. Well, if I were to give advice to aspiring musicians or people in the entertainment industry, I would say, the obvious thing is perfect your craft. If you're going to be a camera person, or you're going to be an on-air personality, if you're going to be a bass player, whatever, engineer, perfect your craft. Then after that, I would say that another good thing is to have a good personality, be nice to people. I know that, there's an old adage that says nice guys finish last, but I really don't believe it. You may go somewhere and maybe you go to a studio and there's someone working at the front desk, and so you say, oh, that's just the doorkeeper or the assistant, and you're kind of snotty with them, and then you come back 3 years later and they're running the whole place, or they're running the radio station, and then they're human and they may remember you, and they get your record and they toss it because of your snotty attitude. So I think being nice to people is important. And then I always tell people to stay away from drugs and substance abuse, because those things can destroy your dream. If you reach the mountaintop, they can bring you down, and sometimes they can keep you from getting to the mountaintop. So I would say that definitely avoid the substance abuse and things of that nature. Well, I've had a couple of plateaus in the music business. When I was with Tower Power, just the journey to being in Tower Power was kind of interesting. I had made a record. John Fogerty and I were kind of hanging out together, and he had written a song for me, and I had this record, but I'd never been on stage. And so someone was saying, well, when are you going to do a show? And I said, well, I don't have a band. So this guy introduced me to this band that lived out in Fremont called the Motown Blue-Eyed Soul Band. And so we rehearsed a couple of times, but we never did anything together. And then I started hanging out with Larry Graham from the bass player for Sly and the Family Stone, and we were writing songs. He said, we need some horns. So he said, I'm going to call this band Tower Power. So he called them when they came to the door. I said, oh, that's the Motown Blue-Eyed Soul Band. These kids have grown up, right? And so we started hanging out together, and I started writing for the band. And then eventually they had some problems with their singer, and I became the singer for the band. And then meeting Larry Graham was really interesting because, Sly and the Family Stone was this huge band, and I always thought, everywhere I would go in Oakland, go to a party, say, oh, Larry Graham just left. I said, I gotta meet this guy, because I felt like if I met him, that maybe, he could help me. And so, and it was just uncanny. I would go places and say, oh, Larry Graham just left. I said, oh my God. So this is happening over a series of times. So one day I'm driving down East 14th, it's called International Boulevard now. So it's like about, right before you get into San Leandro, what do I see but Larry Graham with his hood up, stranded in the middle of the street. I said, oh, this is my chance, right? So then I get out of the car and I get my jumper cables and I go over, and so I said, let me help you get your car started. So we went down there and got his car started. He said, well, hey, this is my phone number. You want to come out of the house tonight? I might have a few people over, hang out or something like that. I was like, yeah, cool. And so then I stopped and I got a bottle of wine and I took it to his house. And he's like, man, people come up here all the time and nobody ever brings anything. He said, you brought a bottle of wine. So the next thing I know, we're friends, and he's traveling with Sly and Family Stone, and he says, do you think you could take my car and get it tuned up while I'm gone? I have this car, this keys to his house, and then the next thing you know, he said, well, we're going to New York, you want to go? And he buy me a ticket, so it was just kind of interesting. That was my journey to meeting him, and then I reconnected with Sly Stone, because Sly and I had kind of grown up together in church, but I could never get to him because he was just this huge international star. And so then I reconnected with Sly. So I think that just making yourself available and just being ready all the time is an important component to success. Well, anybody who lives in the seminary area of Seminary and International Boulevard, you have a great studio here. You can come here and you don't have to pay for it. You have expert instructors here. I know Clay Tobin Richardson is a guy that I think the number one record, one of the number one records of earlier this year and last year, he put the horns and the strings, produced those and arranged those. And he's been on his partner, Larry Baptiste, works with the Grammys. I think he's like second in command of some aspect of the Grammys. I've only been here for about 35, 40 minutes, but I'm just looking at the equipment. I was like, wow, state-of-the-art equipment, and I pay to go to studios like this, and they, it costs $75 an hour, $100 an hour, $150, So I would say that you have a great resource here, and you should utilize it.